Shelley Hofberg is a clairvoyant, medium, pet psychic, and tarot reader. She does not ask for the details about your life, but primarily relies on her gift of clairvoyance to receive the psychic insights that will be the most helpful to you about your soulmate, relationships, money concerns, and your career path. As a pet psychic, she will receive insights about what your pet or pets wants you to know. As a medium, she will connect with your loved ones on the other side. Shelley Hofberg is the host of the Psychic Horizon radio show, produced by Goldilocks Productions and presented on Blog Talk Radio, Thursdays at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Shelley brings together the pioneers and visionary teachers to share with you some of the most enlightening knowledge that is out there today to expand your horizons and open the paths to higher consciousness.
Welcome to the Psychic Horizon Show. I'm your host, Psychic Shelley Hofberg, and today's special guest is Jerry Wimmer, who will be talking about lithomancy, which is the art of reading stones and doing psychic readings for you. And before I bring on Gary, I just want to make some quick announcements. That on August 17th next week will be Brian Ross, who's the host of the Magical Journey radio show that comes on Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. He'll be back on September 21st. And on September 14th is Jeremy Ryden, who's the host of the Great Method, Your Intuitive Destiny Guide, his book, and Your Soul Story, How to Create the Life You Always Wanted. And on August 24th is Bill Foss, who'll be talking about the Akashic Records. And on August 31st is Taylor Bowman, who'll be talking about the crystal ball. This coming Saturday, August 12th, I'll be at the Learning Light Foundation's at Psychic Fair in Anaheim from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And on August 26th, Terry Lynn Kanzi and myself will be at the School of Multidimensional Healing and Science Psychic Fair from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. And on August 27th, I'll be at the New Earth Expo at the Garland Hotel in North Hollywood. And on October 15th, Terry Lynn Kanzi and myself will be at Pagan Pride in Long Beach. I'm now ready to bring on my guest, Jerry Wimmer. Hello, Jerry.
This is Gary. How are you?
Gary,
Shelley?
Sorry about that. Hello.
How's your day, girl?
It's going fine. How about yourself?
Oh, considering all the chaos in the world and the change and so forth, I'm doing great. I just look at every day at what I can do and what I can't do and focus on what I can do, other than watching the unfolding, challenges in our societies. So I wake up every day just inspired that I know all this chaos that we're seeing throughout the world is heading somewhere. It's changing our society slowly but surely. So I'm an optimist. Basically, I'm an optimist. But it is interesting times we are living in, is it not, my dear?
Yes. And Gary, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm 69. I'll be 70 in November 8th. I was the third of 7 brothers, raised Catholic, went to Catholic school, was going to be an altar boy until puberty hit. That changed that. When I went to college, I was a very devout Catholic kid, but I certainly couldn't understand a lot of the church's fanaticism. When I went to college, I was very curious about other people and religions and belief systems, and through a series of coincidences, I suppose you could say, although there are none, I met a lady who did a horoscope for me, and I was a electrical engineer in college, so it kind of astounded me that she could tell me so much about myself just from the day I was born. Got my curiosity going. I started reading a lot of Edgar Cayce, Madame Blavatsky, Ruth Montgomery, all kinds of psychics and spiritualists and so forth. And in 1970, I moved to Austin, Texas, where I live now. I started giving readings after I got another astrology reading from another lady, and she said, yeah, you got a lot of natural psychic ability. So by this time, I was very interested in it, and even though I graduated in 1970 with an electrical engineering degree, it was all defense work, and I did not want to work in the defense industry. So I decided to play music and develop my psychic ability. And most of my adult life, I've been a professional musician and a psychic. About the last, 15 years, I got into acting and writing and some other things. But basically, I gave up music about 10 years ago. I was tired of moving equipment, decided to just do readings full time. And in 1980, I met a lady who did a reading for me called Reading Stones. That's what she called it. The actual name is lithomancy. I had never seen anybody use this method. It was fascinating to me. I asked her to show me how she does it. She told me, kind of a short lesson. Actually, what happened, she put on a class, and it was pouring rain. I mean, heavy. And I turned out to be the only person to show up. So I asked her to give me a quick, well, how do you do this? And she showed me, and the next day I started practicing it. And this was 1980, and I've, since 1980, when I saw her use this system and she taught me, it became my main system. And I lived in Europe all during the 90s, playing music and doing readings, but mostly playing music. I came back from Europe in 2000 because I was traveling all the time. I didn't ever have any internet service over there. So when I came back to the States in 2000, I started checking up for information on lithomancy, how other people did it, anything written on it. And it turns out I couldn't find anything written on it, so I decided, well, I'll write a book. Excuse me, I've been doing it for 25 years. So I started writing a book called Lithomancy, The Psychic Art of Reading Stones. And have sold considerably less than 1 million copies. But it is out there for people who would like to learn about this system. It's spelled Lithomancy, lithomancy. In fact, you can go to lithomancy.com, which is my website. You see a lot of information about how I give readings, see some videos, some information, and a lot of information on my website. Plus, it has some books that I've written. One is The Lithomancy, The Psychic Art of Reading Stones, and the other one is a book called The Second in Eternity, about a near-death experience I had in 1977. And that's a whole other interesting, fascinating aspect of my life. So that's kind of the 5-minute rundown. Do you think I'm still sane, Shelley?
Yes, you are. Quite an interesting adventure, Jerry. And what is lithomancy, Jerry?
It's Gary, but the
Gary, sorry about that.
Basically, lithomancy, if you look at the term, litho means stone. Mancy is a term that, as far as I remember, means man thing, and for some reason it's interpreted as divination. So lithomancy means divination by stone. And what it basically is, it's a system of reading patterns of stones. I use there's a lot of different methods of lithomancy throughout history. I know one particular method this lady taught me, and this involves 16 stones. There's 10 planet stones: Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto. and there's 6 personal stones: love, life, luck, commitment, timing, and place. And these 16 stones, if I do it over the phone, which most of the readings I do are over the phone, because I do for people all over the world, basically, I charge up my stones in my hand and ask the person to say drop whenever it feels right to them. I drop these 16 stones into a circle that I form with a thin piece of leather. It's about 14 inches in diameter, just like a circle. And when I drop the stones, I read them like a clock. If I do it in person, I show the person about how to drop the stones so they don't land in one pile or all over the room. And then in either case, I read the pattern that is formed from the center, like the center of a clock, up to the top, which is 12 o'clock, the start of the first week. And I read around for 12 weeks, each hour representing approximately a week. And as I do this, I look at what the stones mean, how they touch, how they point, geometric shapes they form, pyramids, arrows, spirals, boxes, how they line up. And by looking at the symbolism and feeling, what I usually tend to feel is what people are going through and what they're learning and that sort of thing. I record the readings and I email them to people. When I was in Europe, Shelley, I discovered an interesting thing, and this kind of resulted out of my near-death experience in 1977, which I'll divert just to a second to explain what I've learned in Europe. In 1977, I went through a week of escalating psychic ability that just blew me away. I'd never been so scared and never been so enlightened at the same time. Moral of the story, after 8 days of this, I was involved in a head-on collision. I was a pedestrian. I got hit head-on by a speeding car and went out to this infinite mind. The whole story's in Eternity, my book. Came back, and my life has never been the same since. I saw the infinite mind and creativity, and in the 8 days preceding that accident, I was seeing all kinds of symbolism with everything, with patterns and numbers and people. And I'd be thinking of something, and someone across the street would mention a couple words that would be exactly what I was thinking. So the moral of the story is I learned very clearly in 1977 how powerful symbolism is. So it brings me back to in Europe, when I was over in Europe from 93 to 2000, a lot of people, musicians, the club owners, knew I gave readings because I got to meet everybody over there and gave half of them readings. And several times people in the club would say, hey, I want a reading, and I may not have my stones with me. I was staying at different places, my girlfriend's place and a musician's place and some other places. So oftentimes I just had my guitar, go in, do the gig, come home. But I decided, I just, after telling people 3 or 4 times I don't have my stones with me, I decided, to hell with that. I can read symbolism. So I remember the first time I asked these two ladies that wanted to have a reading, I brought them up to my apartment where I was staying and had them just arrange stuff on a table, a trinket from their purse, ashtray, a card, a guitar string, whatever. And I would ask them to arrange things in a certain order, and I would go into the kitchen, make some tea or something, come back a couple minutes later, and would read whatever they had set up on the table, whether it was a glass of water, however they set it up. I would allow myself, because that's really what it is, allow myself to trust my intuition and let it talk to me and make sense of these symbols on the table, which brings me back to any psychic reading in some form or other is a reading symbolism, whether it's something you feel or see or sense. As you know, Shelley, we don't get a sheet of paper coming down explaining, these things. We feel them, we see them, we read the signs. So I'm a strong believer in the symbolism in life and teaching yourself to read signs, whether it's through, a psychic art, lithomancy, tarot cards, whatever, or just reading yourself. and allowing yourself to believe, because it's true, that the universe is always talking to us. And when we allow ourselves to see that, guess what? We start benefiting by the fact that the universe is always talking to us symbolically in some form or another. So that's wrap number 2. Does that make sense to you, Shelley?
Yes, it does. And let's take our first caller, Gary, which is area code 650, Miranda. Hello, Miranda.
Hi, Shelley, and hi, Gary. Thank you for taking my call. So,
Yeah,
Gary,
girl.
I'm so happy to be talking to you. I would love some insight on a situation or a question I have regarding work. I am pursuing a volunteer activity, volunteer work, and I'm not sure quite where it's going. Like, I think this woman has to create a position for me. She is expanding her project that she's in charge of over into my area, and I don't think she quite knows where to place me and what to do with me. I was looking for some insight into this, if you could help me.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll do 2 things. I'll look at some cards and I'll drop some stones for you. I put in an additional stone for this work, and so I'll tell you where I see it lands up and how. All you have to do, my dear, one time, just real clearly, just say drop. And I'll tell you what I'll see, especially concerning this thing, okay?
Okay.
So whenever it feels right, just say drop one time.
Drop.
All right. I think this is working for you. I think you're learning to trust what you've already put into play, and that's very healthy because it's helping you conquer some fears and doubts about other things in your life, as well as about this job. It feels like I think they're doing some kind of expansion or something, and it's we have to process a lot of information, reorganize, but it feels like over the next couple of weeks you've got Neptune next to Mercury. That means dream, hope, believe. It's spirituality. You've got the love stone, which I feel like is your love for this work, as well as feels like good things in relationships, including how you've communicated with these people. I think they're having to work some things out, like I say, over the next couple of weeks. I do feel like you are on board. I do feel like the lady is on your side. I think she's having some things she is challenged by, but it's like she doesn't want to tell you all the mechanics of it because you can't do anything about it. It's her what she has to do.
Right.
But it does feel like by the second and third week, if you're not hearing back directly, you're feeling intuitively like you know you're on the right track and you know you've done the best you can. How much the squeaky wheel gets the grease, but diplomacy is also important. You don't want to squeak too much.
Right.
So
right.
There's sort of an intuitive balance that I think you are learning in this process about how much to squeak, how much to let it be. Now, one thing I think is very important for you is 3 stones in particular have to do with spirituality and psychic ability. They are Neptune, Pluto, and Uranus, the furthest out planets. And these are forming sort of a little, like an arrow here with the Lux stone. And Jupiter's right in the middle of that, and Venus. So you've got a lot of not only people who believe in you, but you've got a more ability than you realize to, put out the thought into the universe, hire me. I'm good. Right. You want me. It's not selfish. You know you can do it. You know you've got the energy. You know you've got the expertise. It's like if you throw a baseball, it lands somewhere in time and space. When you put out a thought or an intention, it goes everywhere. And those with connections to you have their antenna up and can pick it up even if they don't consciously know it. So thoughts and intentions do have an effect. And so don't shortchange yourself on how powerful that can be. Just your own meditation upon I'm the one who can make things work, because you know you can. I think you've got a lot of ideas that are like helping them get more progressive, do more with the same energy. It feels like you're kind of a revolutionary to their benefit. You understand what I'm saying?
I do.
So don't shortchange yourself. It takes people with bravery and fresh ideas to change, whether it's the women's right to vote or slavery or whatever. And I think this lady knows that about you, that you've got a lot of potential. It's almost like she knows that she doesn't want you to unleash too much too quickly, I guess, is something like that. Not that you would, but she knows you've got a lot of ideas and a lot of energy, wants to benefit from it, but not have it shake up the china in the china closet that much.
Right.
Does that make sense to you? Keep the order of things. And you can do that. You've got great skill at people. You've got great skill at optimism. You're a good healer. You're very intuitive, too. You've got a lot of psychic and spiritual and healing ability. So part of it is, part of it's coming to you again through this search for the job or landing the you got your worm on the hook. You want to bring in the big fish. Physically, you can do this much, communicate, talk, whatever. Spiritually, that's the button you can push in the privacy of your own mind and heart, and it does grease the wheels. And I feel like by the 4th and 5th week here, I wouldn't be surprised if things are falling in play for you pretty good. You're even going to look back, I feel like toward the 8th, 9th, and 10th week and go, wow, I kind of understand why there needed to be delay and a little bit of frustration, because it helps you polish up on your skills of not being frustrated by what could be frustrating and dealing with delay in a very positive learning way. Just like now, over this next week or so, put your spiritual, psychic, mental ability on this. One thing I learned from my near-death experience, my dear, is our soul guides, our guardian angels, our higher mind will always help us a little bit. But the rule is, don't interfere with free will of human beings unless you're asked. And that's why it says, ask and you shall receive, because growth and enlightenment and progress is not to be forced upon you. It's for your choice to climb that mountain. So the reverse of that is ask, and also ask the universe to tell you how to get the answer. So I think by the end of this 8th or 9th, 10th week here, I think you've got more success in your life than you realize. And you realize how much you've learned. I just think it's opened up new plans in your life. Now, I don't know if you write or not, but you've got a lot of ability at that. Do you?
I don't.
Well, you got a lot of communication skill. You got a lot of, ability. So that's kind of what I see. Does that make sense to you, my dear?
It does. It does, Gary. Yeah.
Miranda.
Well, good. I'll let Shelley go in some.
Miranda, I feel that within 3 weeks that you're going to be doing the volunteer work. That it's just taking a little while for her to get things together, get things set up. But she will, come through with a volunteer job for you within 3 weeks. There will be a position for you. It will be a challenging position. There'll be challenges that you'll have, but there'll be good challenges. And it looks like it could kind of open the door to a paying job. After this volunteer job, it's going to last for a while, is over. There's going to be another job offer, which is going to be a paying job. So you are going, so it's kind of paving the way for something bigger and something better to come in for you. Gary, how can Miranda get in contact with you?
Miranda or any listener, the best way to there's several links to my website. The easiest one is lithomancy.com, LITHOMANCY.com. And, of course, you can always just Google Gary Wimmer, Garywimmer, or Gary L. Wimmer, and you'll find me all over the website. So, and there's a lot of information on my website, lithomancy.com. It's a dated website, folks. I know I have to update it. It's on my list. Everybody gets a couple lists. So, Miranda, good to speak to you, girl. I hope that helps you.
Thank you, Gary, and thank you, Shelley.
And Miranda, you can get in hold of me at 818-744-5241 or go to psychichorizon.com. And thank you for calling the Psychic Horizon Show, Miranda.
Thank you both so much. I appreciate it.
You too,
You're
girl.
welcome. I'm now going to continue my interview on lithomancy, the art of reading stones, with Jerry Wimmer, and then we're going to take our next caller, which is Rose, area code 201. Jerry, what is our collective past and our collective destiny?
Well, I saw that during my near-death experience. First of all, I never thought things like that were knowable or seeable as a human being. Now I know differently. People can know and see those things. In essence, what I saw at the pinnacle of the near-death experience I went through, there's 250 pages in the book, so it's hard for me to explain real quickly, but it was this infinite mind, infinite thought, infinite creativity with absolutely no bias. It was infinite, and it was also like every possibility you could imagine. So it's infinite, but it's also one. And it's not a contradiction like yin-yang like we experience at Earth. So we all came from this infinite mind. Even Edgar Cayce, one of the greatest psychics ever, described the creative process as God moved and saw itself. I think that's a beautiful way to put it. Just imagined into creation every possibility, every possible universe, dimension, beyond imagination that could exist. We, human beings on Earth, took a particular route and chose to become humans. So our collective past is one infinite mind, and our collective future is returning to that infinite mind. And meanwhile, we are caught in this, either caught in or we get to enjoy, by our own choice, this life as individuals, separate, with different genes and different histories. The fact is we're all common. We all have one common connection. That's for an infinite mind. And I think the more people allow themselves to see that, the more they'll break down the walls of doubt, fear, mistrust, and so forth. So I finally understood, after my near-death experience, the concept of Maya, the illusion, the separateness. Once I saw infinite mind and I came back to Earth, I realized this really is an illusion. It's the illusion of separateness. It's the illusion that comes about by being in time and space. It's real, but it is, It's precipitated, it's manifested by infinite mind, infinite creativity. Look at the universe. Just this universe. We can't even begin to understand the physics of it even. Well, a fair amount we do, but creation is so infinite. So when we come to Earth, we get very isolated, we get very opinionated, we certainly have our own perspective, experience, genes, karma, whatever, culture. And through our lives, we play tug-of-war with ourselves and the world we're in, to some degree, and we also can love and cherish our differences. But in any case, our collective past and our collective future are the same thing. It's infinite mind. We just happen to be taking little voids through time and space for several thousand lifetimes. That's kind of the way I see it.
Awesome. Well, let's take our next caller, Gary, sorry about that, which is area code 201, Rose. Hello, Rose.
Hello.
And what is your question today, Rose?
I'm wondering if you see any travel in my future. I would love to take a vacation to go visit a few people, but I'm not sure if I could afford it right now, so I'm hoping you could look into my future and see if that will happen.
Do you want to take that, or do you want me to take it, Shelley?
You take it first, dear.
Okay, I'm going to put in a stone for some travel. I've got some in there anyway. And I just use stones just sort of as a doorway into different levels of possibilities or whatever. So anyway, all you have to do, my dear, one time real clearly, is just say drop when it feels right for you, okay?
Okay.
Whenever you say drop, I'll tell you
Gary.
what I see about it. Can you hear me?
Yes, drop, Gary, please.
Okay, excuse me. You know what I feel? Here's what I feel, bottom line. You're looking at this travel situation and probably some other things in your life as, what's the word? Because of some curveballs recently in the past, you've not brought your, level of creativity and can do and can change up to its where you would like it to be, so you can have trips and journeys and new experiences. So the first thing I'm seeing is look at where you've kind of let doubt trump possibility. The first thing you want to do, I use this example a lot, is baseball. If you step up to the plate with doubt that you can hit a home run, you're broadcasting that to yourself and to the universe. That intention matters. You come up there with an absolute conviction of hitting a home run, you're telling the whole universe that. You can keep your eye on the ball. You're not intimidated. You can't decide where to swing until the ball is 20 feet ahead of you. But you can set everything else up in play for a winner. And that's what I felt over this next week or two. The more you put yourself into this, yes, I can travel, yes, I can get the money, you don't have to know exactly how or when. Just let that be the fresh mindset. And I feel like by the third and fourth week here, you've set yourself up to where, well, you're starting to see these possibilities, kind of crawling out of several different areas of your life. And it's not an accident that you start seeing these fresh possibilities, because I think in this first week you're going to learn, why play the it might not happen record? Play the it will happen record. I just don't exactly know how yet. And I feel like by the fourth and fifth and sixth week here, you've got some good plans. It feels like, are you trying to take a trip with somebody else?
Well, I want to go visit two different people, one in Tennessee and one in Florida. But like I said, I'm not sure if I could afford it right now, maybe in the future.
Well, that's what I feel. If you can't, just because you can't afford it today doesn't mean you can't afford it reasonably soon. And what I suggest, first of all, is asking the universe and telling yourself, I'm going to hit a home run. I'm going to make this work, and not be frantic about it. Plant those seeds. I feel like there is a delay, but I feel like this is a challenge for you to be able to break through what you see as shortcomings. And they are. They're real shortcomings in life. Sometimes we don't have the money. Sometimes we, if you only have, one arm, you're probably not going to be a very great football player and so forth. There's all kinds of limitations.
Summer's winding down, and, I'm like, oh, my goodness, it's almost over, and I haven't taken a vacation.
Oh, no, girl. You are free to think that, but the question is, why? When you allow your mind to think that way, you bring that reality into fruition. It really does. Thoughts matter. Intentions matter. And even if you didn't have healthy, inspiring, creative thoughts yesterday or 5 minutes ago, doesn't mean you can't this next week or two. I think that's what you're learning. I really do. And I think it's a great reward for you, because it sets you up of feeling emotionally free. It sets you up on having a whole new feeling of accomplishment, and you make your mind work first, your heart work, and so forth, and then the practical things start falling into play about how you can pull this off. I do feel like by the 8th and 9th and 10th week here, not only are you seeing the possibility for travel, I can't tell exactly when, but you've really changed this mindset about it being too late and I'm broke or whatever. And that's a winner for you in relationship with yourself, as far as new plans. as far as learning a whole new cycle of luck, and yes, as far as seeing the possibility of both travel and the finances or way to get there. So don't shortchange yourself on the fact that you can hit a home run now, regardless of what didn't or did happen yesterday. Does that make sense to you, girl?
Yes, thank you.
A lot of luck in this first couple of weeks, or you really do, and I think it's luck because I think you're going to consciously stop playing the record of I'm too old, it's too late, I don't have the money. To hell with that. You know?
Rose, I feel that you're going to be traveling in October, November, so it does look like that there is going to be some finances available to you. Money's coming from an outside source. I don't know where it's coming, but it's coming from an outside source, so there's going to be money available for you to travel in October, November, so you will be able to go to both Tennessee and Florida to see your friends. You will be able to make that journey and make that trip. So it's going to happen. It's going to take a little time, about a month or two, but within 1 or 2 months, you'll be traveling. And I feel that you're going to have an extended trip of 2 or 3 weeks, that you're going to plan for 2 weeks and you're going to stay an extra week. So the trip is going to go very well. You're going to be seeing a lot and doing a lot with your friends. You're going to be happy to see them because it's been a long time, and they're going to be happy to see you. Gary, how can Rose get in contact with you?
By going to my website. Got the best way to get there is lithomancy.com, lithomancy.com. And I just wanted to say this, Shelley, your timeline is exactly what I was seeing here. I put in a stone about the 4th week here for travel, and the enjoyment factor. Yeah, I agree with you pretty much with what you said.
Thank you.
So good luck, girl.
Thank you.
And Rose, you can get a hold of me at 818-744-5241 or go to psychichorizon.com. And thank you for calling the Psychic Horizon Show, Rose.
Oh, thank you so much. Bye.
Bye-bye, girl.
I'm now going to continue my interview with Gary on lipomancy, the art of reading stones, and then we're going to take our next caller, which is area code 402. Please discuss your near-death out-of-body experience, Gary.
Well, certainly, Shelley, that was the most incredible thing I've ever been through, and as far as I know, I couldn't go through anything more incredible than that ever. What happened to me in a nutshell, in 1977, the end of January, I was playing in a band. I was quitting the band. I was going to leave. As we were driving back to Austin, I felt very whole afternoon. That night in Austin, I started noticing I was picking up thoughts with my neighbors who were over at my house, celebrating my return or whatever. Couldn't sleep that night. Next day, I noticed as my roommate's walking into the apartment, our duplex, reading the paper, I saw the paper through his eyes, the headline. He dropped the paper down on a table, and I looked at it, and I was just stunned. And he's looking at me like, "You okay?" Yeah. Well, anyway, over the next couple of days, I started having constant psychic experiences. I would walk by a complete stranger, and I could feel everything they were thinking. I sat on my porch several times with my roommates and friends, and I could hear a car coming up. And I could imagine myself looking at the car, standing at the curb, but not actually moving. And I could tell the color of the car, the license plate. I actually knew the driver's name and a lot about him. I couldn't prove that. So I told my friend, my roommate at the time, who was watching this, dumbfounded, car after car, I described it before it came into view. One night we went out to a club, and I was feeling very claustrophobic because I could pick up so much about everybody. So I went to sit at not where the band was, but at the quiet part of the bar by myself, kind of trying to turn this off. I didn't know how to turn this escalating psychic ability off. It was fun and enlightening, but it was getting to be, where's the off switch? So I thought about going outside the bar, and instantly, I feel like I'm standing outside the bar, and 4 people walk in, and they walk right through me. Well, that startled me. I opened up my eyes, and no, I'm still in the bar seat. And the 4 people came through the door dressed exactly as I had seen just a moment ago. So I tried this a couple times, and it worked every time. And my roommate, who was in the back, came and sat down next to me, and he, what are you doing? And I said, too hard to explain. I'll bet you $5 I can tell what the next people coming through the door will be dressed like. And I pulled it off, and he thought I would outside. And I said, no, ask any of these people. I've been sitting here. But anyway, this kept expanding and expanding and expanding. And by the end of the 8th day, I could feel these guardian angels starting to watch me. I couldn't see them, but I could feel them. And it seemed like they named themselves the monitors. So as this experience escalated, I felt like my only contact to sanity, I guess, was feeling these monitors sometime around. I knew they were kind of protecting me or watching me or monitoring me or something. And after a week of this escalating, unexplainable phenomenon that I couldn't turn off, long story short, I was hit head-on by a speeding car. Right before I got hit by the car, I saw the monitors. I saw them hovering above me, and they asked me if I trusted them. I said, absolutely, yes. And there was a whole bunch of people on the street that night, and they're watching me talk to this, something that they don't see. And then seconds later, I'm hit by this car, and I'm outside my body. And I went from terrified to extreme bliss in a millisecond after I saw the monitors. So the hitting the car I didn't physically feel it. It didn't hurt me. It didn't scare me. I was outside my body instantaneously, watching it get banged up by this car. And in no time, I'd completely forgotten about myself and Earth. I was expanding in all directions like a surface of a balloon. You know, one of the first things I remember seeing is the whole Earth from 360 degrees, North Pole, South Pole, the whole planet at once. It's because my consciousness was expanding like a balloon, and everything was going inside of it, galaxies, and this sped up, sped up, sped up. I saw this universe. I got out of this universe and saw infinite universes, and they seemed to wrap up into a big tunnel of light, so to speak, and I was projected through that into this infinite, beautiful void, as I was saying a while ago, infinite creativity, and with no awareness of myself whatsoever, or Earth, just infinite creativity, and at its source, it resonated with infinite love, and it's completely impossible to explain how infinite love equals infinite creativity, but it does. So in the middle of observing or being at one with this infinite mind, somewhere along the process, it felt like I was observing it, and I was pulled back away from it and back through this tunnel of light and drawn towards some universe somewhere. I had no idea where I was going or who I was. I entered this universe, started collapsing toward this solar system, got close to Earth, got close to Austin, Texas, saw my body in the middle of the street with people screaming and hollering, and jumped back into my body. And the first thing I remember, I opened my eyes, and this long red hair was scraping across my face. It was the driver of the car, and he was terrified. Well, I'd just been to heaven and back. I was in perfect ecstasy. I didn't feel any pain. I saw the car all banged up in front of me. I saw people screaming and hollering and trying to help, but I was in pure ecstasy. And I just leaped to my feet and started talking to people around me, seeing if they saw these monitors that were hovering overhead. Of course they didn't. And in no time, ambulances and police and cops came to the scene, and they all asked me what happened and how I wasn't hurt and blah, blah, blah. And every time I tried to answer them truthfully, they wouldn't have it. So anyway, I knew what happened. I saw infinite mind. I saw God. I saw infinity. I've never been so happy in my life, never been so blown away and thrilled at the same time. it was a challenge kind of knowing what to do next, because after you come back from that, it's like everything else seems so irrelevant. But I was back in time and space, and, it took me a while to kind of put together the pieces of what had happened to me, and that was 40 years ago. And like I said, it's explained in my book in pretty good detail, A Second in Eternity. You can just Google A Second in Eternity and you'll find it. Or go to lithomancy.com, you'll see a link of it. Or go to Amazon or Kindle, A Second in Eternity. I started writing the book when I lived in Europe about 20 years ago. I finished it up about 8 years ago. Put all the police records in it, because I was arrested and all this stuff just because they didn't know what to make of me. But as I was saying a while ago, my life had never been the same. This is 40 years ago this happened, and I'm still putting into context what happened and how much it empowers me here now today. And it's been a growing and evolving, level since 1977. So it was certainly, I feel so grateful, so happy, so lucky for having gone through this experience. Believe me, if I could, I would push a button and give everybody a ride there and back. You cannot go through something like that and be unaffected. Just like everybody who's had a near-death experience, most of them, because I speak at a lot of these near-death conventions and so forth, most people have had a near-death experience in some form or another. The one common thread is you experience infinite love. That's what most people say, and it's incredible to, as much as we love as humans, infinite love is a spiritual love. This love of the universe or God or whatever is completely beyond imagination. We just can't quite conceive of it while we're stuck in a body, because we've got so much of a past and ups and downs and emotions and, But once we get away from all that mental stuff, our limited experience as an individual human being, and we leave the body, we can start going down that path of tapping into that infinite love. So that's kind of an 8-minute scenario of what I went through. It's in the book, A Second in Eternity, and your listeners would certainly enjoy the book. It's got a lot of good reviews, and it's certainly a page-turner, and it's absolutely true.
Well, let's take another caller, Gary, area code 402. Hello, area code 402.
Hi, this is Diane. Thank you very much for taking my call. I've really enjoyed your show today, and thank you, Gary, for sharing your stories.
Oh, thank you, girl. It's a story worth sharing, and I'm glad I can. And hope to inspire people about how much they can broaden their own perspectives.
And Diane, what is your question today?
Well, I was calling about love. Something I've always wanted to do. I know it's not popular right now, but I wanted to be in a successful marriage, and I've been married before, and I did like being married. For a long time, I was not in a relationship and hadn't met anyone, and now I'm in a relationship. It's very, very great, wonderful man. That's a perfect match for me. So I'm just wondering, any impressions you get, whether it's about our future together or specifically anything you see that I can do to help the relationship continue to grow and to thrive.
Okay, girl, I'll take that first and let Shelley give you some other information. All you have to do, I put a stone in for a love in particular. I've also got another love stone that I've used also, so we got two of them in. All you have to do, Diane, when it feels right, is just say drop one time real clearly, okay?
All right.
It's up to you, dear.
Drop.
All right. Well, yeah, you're right here in the center. You have Jupiter. You have the life stone. As I go up toward 12 o'clock, life stone, moon. The stone I put in for this guy, and Pluto. Pluto shows that you're working through a lot of these things, these doubts, these differences, and so forth. And it's also showing how you can almost feel, inspired and creative rather than, tentative. Remember, you're 50% of the dance. You with me? So,
right, and I feel more inspired since I've been in this relationship in a lot of regards.
Oh, I think it's very healthy for you. I think it's bringing you alive again. I think it's helping you put the past in perspective, which we cannot change, of course.
Right.
So I think it helps you in a lot of levels. And I wouldn't be surprised if by the third and fourth week here, you have commitment stone. You have Mars, which represents him. And it's pointing toward the love stone, which is outside the circle. Yeah, I think y'all are headed toward a good thing. I think you're kind of almost like weaving a carpet, cross-weaving, differences, different lives, different experiences, but good. You wouldn't want to be with a clone of yourself.
Right.
Are you with me? So it feels like there's a lot for both of y'all, and it feels like you're kind of familiarizing yourself with each other, with each other's sensitivities and so forth. But I think he really does care for you. Men are just simpler. We just don't get as wound up emotionally and so forth as you ladies do, because we don't breed. We can separate sex and love and emotions into different categories just because nature made us that way. But you're on a good path here, and I think you know it. And I think by you believing it even more, you bring it into fruition and clarity sooner rather than later. I wouldn't be surprised if by the fourth and fifth week here, your communication is so much better. It's almost like you're making plans. Are y'all living together?
No, and I'm not sure if he's ready for that. He told me at the beginning of the year he wasn't sure if he wanted to get married again, and I've made it up front that that's something I was looking to do, but we're still together and we're getting closer. So I think we're so good for each other. I think one of us is going to change our mind. I'm not sure which one.
Oh, I do too. Just because he hasn't come around to that point yet, let him, because you don't want him to love you out of sympathy. You want him to love you out of desire and passion, and that's coming to the surface again for him. I do feel like he's doing a lot of healing from past things, and that's something that's, you don't push a button and get there.
Right.
But your support, your compassion, your friendship, the value he sees you in you is growing day by day by day, and you kind of know that. So as long as you kind of know that, play that card. If you know how to play the well, don't be afraid of playing it well. And I feel like the 7th and 8th week here, I think y'all are coming to some new plans together. I really do. Toward the end of this 3-month period, I wouldn't be surprised if a couple things. First of all, you realize how much luck you've brought to yourself by just sort of sticking to your guns about your own value and worth and so forth. You can't make somebody else believe the world is round, for that matter. You can't make him change and bring you a ring, but you can sure plant those seeds in your head, in your heart, in your mind, and in the universe. And as I told someone a while ago, that antenna is up. They start picking that up. He has plans more than you believe, but he's also he's going through a little fear factor right now. And you kind of know that. You kind of have to just let him work his way through it and raise your level of sexiness, beauty, harmony, fearlessness, your enticement factor. Just keep doing that, because that's what makes him kind of rethink this in a fresh way to your benefit.
Okay.
I think y'all are going somewhere.
I'm not sure if he's in a holding pattern or if he is moving forward. I think sometimes, most of the time, he's moving forward. It's just been very slow.
There is kind of a holding pattern. He's trying to break out of this fear, doubt thing from the past, heal his wounds, move on, that sort of thing. But I think a lot of favorable aspects happen for both y'all in the future, so don't shortchange yourself.
Okay.
Nothing's guaranteed, girl, but like I said, it takes two to tango. Make your dance so good that he wants to learn better steps.
Ooh, I like that. I will do that. That inspires me. Thank you.
Okay, girl. Shelley?
Diane, I do feel that the relationship is going to move forward and progress over the next 2 or 3 months. And if he hasn't told you he loves you, he's going to tell you he loves you. I feel that he does love you. And I feel he'll change his mind about marriage, but marriage is not for at least 2 years. It's going to take time to lead, but it has the potential, this relationship has the potential of leading to marriage, but it will be a 2-year period before he's ready, because he needs to work out some issues. He needs to work out some things from his past. He needs to do a cleansing and let them go. And I feel that he will, that he needs to trust and love again, and trust that he's not going to get hurt, and trust that things are going to be good for him in the future. And I feel that will happen, but it's going to take some time for it to work into marriage, but it does have the potential of being a marriage, within 2 years' time. And it looks like the holidays are going to be a good time for both you and him, that you're going to be spending holidays together as well as with your families, around your families, and that if you haven't met his family, you're going to be meeting his family by the end of the year. So things are progressing. And Jerry, how can Diane get in contact with you?
Well, Diane, you and or other folks can get a lot of information about me, my email, my phone number, through lithomancy.com. And that's LITHOMANCY, like lithograph, lithomancy.com. A lot of information there. There's a PayPal link if you want to use that, and we figure out a time to do a reading. But pretty much how to get a hold of me. And thank you for inviting me, Shelley. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. And I wanted to thank you for being a guest on the Psychic Horizon show today. You'll be back. And I wanted to thank Tiffany White, Sage Woman of Goldilocks Production, for producing the Psychic Horizon show. And I want to thank the callers who participated in the Psychic Horizon show. Have a good weekend, Gary.
There you go, girl. Thank you very much. You all too. Have a good weekend, Shelley. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye-bye.